I believe it was a conspiracy. And everybody knew at that time that if a policeman dies, somebody has to pay for it. I couldn't, because I was underage, and Bentley fitted the book.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all well and have been okay since the last video. Today we look into what's considered one of the biggest miscarriages of justice in terms of capital punishment and hanging. So it's amongst one or two others, or a handful of others, which is certainly up there and is always being discussed, and we are learning from, I suppose, which is probably the better way to put it. So of course I'm talking about Mr. Derek Bentley, who I'm sure we've all heard of and have got some sort of idea of what happened in the series of events. There is quite a lot online and loads and loads of info out there about him and his story. So today we visit his final resting place, of course. We also visit his home, or where his home used to be, as well as the Wandsworth Prison Museum, which I'll be honest, I didn't even know existed until I started looking into this video. And that has got a couple of interesting bits and pieces connected to Derek Bentley. Of course, that's where he was kept and he was executed. There's going to be a whole other video coming on the prison museum visit, because they have got loads of cool bits and pieces related to Ronnie Biggs, the train robber, the Craze, and a couple of others that we've done videos on. So if you haven't seen those, check those videos out. But there will be a separate video on the museum visit coming real soon. And along with those, we also visited the National Archive Centre, which was an experience for sure. And they had mountains of documents, court paperwork, police statements, medical paperwork, prison paperwork, all relative and related to Derek Bentley. So I'm going to drop some of those in the video, and I've added a couple at the end for you guys to see. But if that's something that you guys are interested in seeing a lot more of, let me know in the comments below. It is quite deep and it's mostly documents, so it is a bit of reading, but let me know and I will do a separate video on the Derek Bentley files and case paperwork and stuff that I went through and saw. So guys, I'm going to give you a bit more info on Mr. Derek Bentley. Derek William Bentley was born on June the 30th, 1933 in London. He actually came from a loving, caring family environment, but as a young child he suffered severe trauma, and this would affect his mental health, well-being and learning capacity. So he would really struggle with education. As a youngster he turned to petty crime, and when he was 15 he was sent to Kingswood approved school, which was like a juvenile detention centre. So he was arrested for theft and was sent to Kingswood approved school, and it was there where he would meet Christopher Craig. So Craig was several years younger than Derek, and spent most of his life also involved in various petty crimes. So the two became friends, they started to hang out, and Craig would become somewhat of an influence over Bentley. Once Derek was released, he actually worked in a couple of jobs. So he worked as a street cleaner, a dustman, and for a removal company. But he would always find himself being released by his employer. He also applied for national service, but was rejected because of his mental health. So that one is quite something to think about, really, because if they accepted him, of course he would have gone down a very different path. After knowing Craig for a couple of years and then being friends, the two put a plan in place to rob a warehouse in Croydon. So Craig armed himself with a Colt 45 revolver, and Derek had a knuckle duster. So on the 2nd of November 1952, they attempted to rob the warehouse. Unfortunately for them, their plan went wrong pretty much immediately. They were actually seen by someone climbing over one of the walls of the warehouse, and the police were called. So the first officer on the scene was a police officer called Frederick Fairfax. So he's arrived, he's tackled Bentley to the ground and arrested him. And it was at this point where Derek Bentley looked at Craig and said the phrase that would ultimately change the course of his life. He looked at Craig and said, "Let him have it, Craig." So Craig's got his gun, fired at the police officer, wounding him. And by this time, other police officers have arrived at the scene, and a firefight occurred between Craig and the officers, during which one of the other police officers, Sidney Mills, was actually hit in the head by one of Craig's bullets and was instantly killed, tragically. So Craig has run out of bullets, and in panic and trying to escape, possibly, he's actually jumped from the roof of the warehouse, hitting the ground and severely injuring himself. So he was immediately arrested. Both boys were taken into custody, charged, and were both found guilty. So Craig, who was 16 at the time, was given a custodial sentence. I'm just going to adjust you guys, because he couldn't receive the death sentence because UK law would not allow it. Derek Bentley, on the other hand, who was 19, was given the death sentence, much to public outrage and political outrage. 200 MPs actually signed a document which was given to the Home Secretary at the time, asking him to review the outcome of the case and to get involved. He sadly chose not to interject. Derek Bentley's appeal was rejected, and on the 28th of January 1953 at 9 a.m. he was hung at Wandsworth Prison. And on the day of the execution, there was huge protest outside. Regardless, the execution tragically still went ahead, and Derek William Bentley's hanging would go on to play a pivotal role in the abolishment of capital punishment in the UK. So, guys, I do believe the final resting place of Derek William Bentley is just here. Here lies Derek William Bentley, a victim of British justice. 30th of June 1933, 28th of January 1955, aged 19 years, much loved son and brother. And then just behind there, the truth will out. Iris Bentley. And then on the other side, in loving memory of William George Bentley, a devoted husband and father, born 3rd of May 1905, fell asleep 12th of July 1975. Oh, the vase has just gone. Lillian Rose Bentley, a loving wife and mother, born 8th of November 1903, fell asleep 10th of October 1976. And Albert Edwin Bentley, born 25th of March 1910, fell asleep 4th of March 1993. And just behind the flowers, they fought till the end. as we are here, guys. Just gonna see if we can straighten that up. Put it in there. But that is the final resting place of Mr. Derek William Bentley. So, this is the road where Derek Bentley used to live with his family. And the house is coming up on our left. Whether it's the actual same house, guys, possibly not, but this is definitely the address and the door number where he lived, and that was all on his paperwork for his statements and court documents and so on. So these are the actual declaration of sheriffs. Sorry, Stuart, what are these actually called? These ones?
Yeah, declaration of sheriff and others, because that included the prison governor,
Right.
and the chaplain, and obviously certificate of surgeon, the medical officer confirming that the person was dead.
Oh, so sort of from the medical perspective, officially declaring him as dead. Wow. And that was the actual prison governor at the time of Derek Bentley's hanging, Mr. William Lawton. And then to the right you've got the famous photo of Derek Bentley and a photo of the protests at the time outside the prison. When the notice of executions were posted. And this is basically the kit that the hangman would have, potentially?
Yes, because Wandsworth was the store for execution equipment for the United Kingdom. They got that job after Pentonville was effectively closed from 1942 as a result of bombing. Even though Pentonville reopened just after the war, it was decided that Wandsworth would retain all the execution kit. So when someone was sentenced to death around the country, one of these boxes and a smaller chain box would be sent with a set of keys by registered post.
To the prison in preparation for... And would the hangman have his own set, or he would use the designated kit that was sent?
He could only use the kit that was supplied by the prison service.
Wow.
And that's because the prison wanted to know what kit had been used, whether it needed inspection, testing or replacement.
Okay. And would they have like the length of the ropes and the measurements and all that sort of stuff? Would they that would all be, it would be the prison kit that would be sent, that would be altered or changed or adjusted, obviously.
The ropes were made to a fairly standard length.
Right.
Because the actual adjustment for the drop was done by the chain as opposed to the rope.
So it wasn't the actual rope, it was like the chain we can see here?
Yes, and that would be fitted onto a form of saddle back on the crossbeam, so you could actually alter the length of the drop down to the ½ inch if you needed to.
Wow.
So the rope itself didn't actually have to be that long. I think the exception to that was in the Scottish prisons, where it seemed to be a fixed bolt into the ceiling. So they would be sent to usually a longer rope, because then you would be using the rope to make most of the adjustment.
And this photo is the last Wandsworth gallows for a test. Oh, this was in 92. So they would still test them like years later?
Yeah, because Wandsworth is, like I say, Wandsworth last gallows, but it's also what's classed as the last operational gallows. So when they abolished the death penalty for murder in 1965, that was sort of ratified in 1969,
yeah.
The Labour government gave instructions in that period to dismantle all the gallows around the country.
Right.
And then it was pointed out that there were some remaining capital crimes, treason, piracy with violence.
Where the death penalty might still be...
Yeah, it might still be enacted.
Really?
Yes, so it was decided that Wandsworth would retain its gallows for those remaining capital crimes if needs be, and as a template to build other gallows if the death penalty should be restored at a later date.
Wow, so it was still kept as an option.
So it was kept, yeah. So it was started. So it did remain operational until it was dismantled.
Wow, but it's now been dismantled.
Dismantled in 1993.
And that was the very last one to sort of be kept in the UK.
Well, there was one gallows I think left up in Scotland, but it wasn't maintained for operational purposes.
Right. So, guys, let him have it. That phrase, what did he mean? Did he mean let him have the gun, or let him have it, as in let him have it, shoot him? We will never ever know. I know Christopher Craig has done a couple of interviews and said what he thought Derek Bentley said. I think there's also stories of him not actually even saying that phrase. There's loads of different variations, and I don't know if you can call them opinions, but versions of events of what happened in terms of whether he said that phrase or didn't and what he meant. But please let me know what you think, guys, and the way he was treated, the way he was executed, absolutely tragic, and a real sad story. So if you've looked into it, if you've got any other details or info, please let me know in the comments down below, guys. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please make sure you like and subscribe, like I always say. Subscribing is absolutely free, it costs nothing. All you need to do is create a free account and click the button, literally as easy as that. And I will see you in the next video, guys. Take it easy and see you soon.